Welcome back to Cosmeholics Anonymous. I am your favorite girl, Bo Vintage, and today we have a DIY. I am going to be customizing this chair because I don't like it. I purchased this chair at the thrift store. It's just a really cute chair for my vanity. It comes with like a brown faux leather or a pleather seat cover, and so we're going to change that to pink because we love pink. So this is the front. And that is the back. The fabric I will be using is this mauve color. It's pink, but it has like a purple tone to it too. It's like a, it's not like suede. It's like a velvet almost, but it is upholstery fabric. So I got that at the fabric store. I'm going to be using the sewing machine today. My mom's going to be helping me out. All you really need is your scissors. You need measuring tape?
Of course.
So because we're using the sewing machine today, you're going to only really need these two items. Obviously, you're going to need thread for your sewing machine, and you're also going to need Velcro actually, so 3 items. I'm not going to put the Velcro out because I don't have it on hand just yet. It's buried in a box somewhere. So yeah, let's get it started.
What I might do is just basically, this comes off because it's just Velcro on. So I may just use this Velcro as a pattern.
Yeah.
I mean, you could add more padding to
If
this
you'd
if
like,
you like.
yeah.
But
Do
two
it.
ways we can do. We can undo it, or we could just use a tape measure and measure the dimensions
yeah.
of what's here.
So this right here is what you would call a seam ripper. And what we're going to do is use it to pull the threads from the fabric so that we can take this apart and make it into
The pattern
a new
itself,
pattern.
Yeah. And the seam ripper is quite simple to use. You're just trying to get, it's like a knife for cutting threads. So you find a seam and where you can see the thread, and then I'm gonna open it. So because it's double stitch on the outside, there's a stay stitch on the outside. It's a little bit more complicated to open it, so I'm just trying to find the best way around that. It'll take a little while. So there, we have a good opening now. So now you can just take your seam ripper and just keep cutting through the thread.
Here, I'll do this side and you do the other side so we can...
Expedite.
Yes. As you see, we've undone about half of it, and so what we're gonna do is just finish up the rest of it. It's pretty straightforward. You're just undoing the stitching, and once you're done that, then we will show you how to recreate it on the fabric. So what I forgot to mention is that I purchased, I believe, 2.5 meters of the pink fabric. I don't even think that's 2.5. That might just be, this looks like about a meter. It's 2 and a little bit, which is clearly way more than we need, but I always buy more fabric just to be safe, rather be safe than sorry. And so as you see, we have the 3 pieces of the chair laid out, and so this right here is actually the back of the seat as well as the top of the the front and the back. Yeah. And then this right here is the actual seat part. So that's this part. The first part was this part. And then that little piece right there goes along with the back of the the back of the chair. This part, not this. It's just a flap.
Back part on so it doesn't slide on.
Yes. And so right now that we have our chair pattern laid out on the fabric, and we have it on the right side of the fabric, not the wrong side, just to keep that in mind. We're going to trace and cut, and we're gonna leave a little bit for seam allowance, because even though this has a seam allowance on it already, a lot of the seam allowance is folded underneath because of how it was stitched down. So we're just gonna add our own seam allowance and work around that.
If you purchase like this is kind of like a velvet velour. Make sure you cut all the pattern pieces in the same direction. If not, you'll have an inconsistency with lighting. So some part of it will look dark, some part will look light when the lights hits, if it's not all going in the same direction.
Okay, good to know.
If you're good at doing projects and you're comfortable with 1/2 inch, go for 1/2 inch, and keep that in mind squarely, because when you put it on the chair, you want it to be tight. When you put it on, as you see when we were taking it off, it was quite tight. If not, it will be baggy and then you won't get the same look. I'm gonna use about 1/2 inch all the way around.
Okay, so she's using a red chalk to, I guess, draw out the pattern. She's not gonna do the entire thing, I don't think.
I won't.
She's just using it as a marker for her seam allowance.
And because the color is so close, it's okay.
Yeah.
I can even go ahead and actually do the whole thing.
They won't stop, baby, yeah. Watch them vlog, baby, yeah. They ain't got nothing on you. You know them girls are last, them wanna hang around.
So at this part right here, the reason that she's not adding the extra seam allowance is because that part isn't folded under like it is around
the seam allowance is already
the rest.
there. Yeah.
So she's just using that instead. And then now she's back to adding her own seam allowance.
Like mine go like glass, them watch from the road and them talk reckless, yeah, yeah. Baby, them know you're precious, boy. They can't handle seeing you shine. Come give me the wickedest wine. They want staring, baby, that's fine. You give me the wickedest vibe, just wind your butt.
Honestly, if you wanted to do this the real quick way, you could just do the staple version.
Yeah.
It's a lot easier, but we forgot the staple gun at my mom's house, and I'm not going back over there until it's time to. And so now we're just going to repeat that same process. We're just going to trace and cut, and then we will head over to the sewing machine. Now we are ready to start sewing. So I'm actually going to let you guys know that we are using the Janome Skyline S7. It's a pretty cool machine. It's actually a quilting machine, but we don't do too much quilting around here. Maybe when the baby gets here, but not right now. And
See, she's creating projects for me before the little baby
Mom,
even get here. Yes.
let's focus, okay? So show me the corner that you did.
Okay. We're starting off with the chair cover, the actual seat cover. So this is the corner that I did. And I'm going to show you how that
we
is.
did this,
Yeah.
yeah.
It's called a miter corner. It's a different way of doing it. And so
Keep in mind that working with velvet and this kind of material is a little trickier, but you get the hang of it.
yeah. So this was the original piece. And so this is the corner that we're working with right now. So what I've done so far is I've flipped that end to end. So you're kind of like making a V with this end. Okay. And then I've stitched it in there to form this V, this corner piece. Okay. So basically, let me slip it on and show you what I'm talking about. So the seat itself, and so this is the one corner that I've stitched already. So fold it, and I left 1/2 inch, 1/4 inch for seam allowance. So I'm going to go in there and stitch that. And I'm going to double stitch it. When you're working with upholstery fabric or any kind of thick fabric, you need to make sure it's going to hold securely and don't come apart on you. So I'm going to double stitch it as reinforcement. Nice and clean and tight, right? Now I'm going to finish off this edge. It's still raw. You can see it fraying. I'm going to finish it off. And it's a bit tricky to do this because it's a cut into more of like a, yeah. On the wrong side of the fabric, I'll go ahead and fold in my seam allowance. I'm trying to do a 1/4 inch too, but it won't be exactly as you move into sewing. So as you notice here, right where the corner is, it's less fabric there, and that's okay. And you just stitch it, slow down, stitch. And then you can always pick up your seam allowance again as you get to the inside of the square.
So we're having an issue with the needle and thread not being thick enough for the upholstery fabric, which we thought we would run into, but we weren't too sure. The best way to combat that is to go slow on the machine.
Yeah.
And you should be fine.
So there's the finish edge again. But what I want to explain is this should be a square corner, but it won't turn out to be exactly square, and that's okay, since it's just to finish the edge around the chair leg so it's not fraying. When you stitch, seam allowance is perfect here, but as you get to the corners, it's going to be very thin seam allowance, and then as you move out to finish it, you can go back into full seam allowance.
So for this piece, she didn't, or she added seam allowance to the pink fabric because the pink fabric tends to fray, whereas the leather fabric or pleather fabric does not. So she added the seam allowance so that it would be a clean finish. And so now what she's doing is tracing the original piece onto the fabric so that she knows exactly where the seam allowance is.
So you can either glue this down, stitch it down,
whichever your little heart desires. Whatever you can afford to do, just do that.
This is the flap that's going to secure the seat part of the chair. So what I'm going to do now is stitch it, okay, just to finish the edge. So what I'm doing, if you can see the line here, I'm going to fold it under and do a little stitch here, and this would take in, and it would just give it a nicer finish. And on the other side I do the same. Although I have my seam marked off, I use my presser foot as a guide. So once I turn this in, I'm going to cut some of it off because it's too bulky. So if I should go ahead and turn this now, you would have all of that fabric in this corner. It's too bulky, so I'm going to cut it down. And you obviously do the same for both sides. So I'm taking off a little bit of it, turn it in, less bulk. Okay, and so you see how nicely finished that is. So that one stitch I did here takes in the seam allowance for both the short and the long end of it. So again, cut that off to lessen the bulk, turn it in, and there you have a nice finish. You can go ahead and iron this to keep it flat. You can stitch that to hold down the other side. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that.
Show you mine. Don't get vexed when you smile. Pretty girl, you a diamond, I cannot lie. One day you can have my child. My girl, they want.
Keep in mind when you're ironing a material like this, you want to be very gentle and have your
Steam.
use steam and also have a low heat on, because it will definitely affect the nap of the fabric. So we actually removed the Velcro from the leather pieces so that we wouldn't have to cut our own Velcro and waste half of the Velcro. And we're going to attach those same pieces onto our new pieces.
So face up, the furry side of the Velcro face up. And you can always make decision in terms of which side of the Velcro goes where. Okay,
now
so
you want to go slow on this, because if you're using the same type of material as we are, because once again it's really thick and we didn't switch out. I think we have a universal needle in this machine right now, and we have regular thread. Sounds like it's going to break. Plus the plastic that the Velcro is attached to makes it even thicker, so you have to be really careful.
And then the other side.
They won't stop, baby, yeah. Watch them flop, baby, yeah. They ain't got nothing on you.
So what are we doing now?
So I'm gonna stitch this together.
Just like the corners of the chair,
Yes.
this is another corner. This
Yes.
is the top corners.
And we're gonna stitch it down like that.
And it's supposed to be really tight. Like when
Yeah.
we were removing it, it was really tight.
Because you're gonna slip it over almost
Yes.
like a slip cover.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So we've already completed this one side, and we're going to show you how we got that done. As you see, it looks really good. You know, not to toot our own horn or anything. What she did was she just finished this side. There's a curve here, and you'll see when we put it on the chair how that's supposed to look. But she also did a running flat stitch, and she's going to explain how she got that, or how she did that.
So here's your two raw edges to be stitched together. Pinch it like that. And I'm gonna start at the very top. So one edge is sort of like a circle, the other edge is square. You're never gonna line them up both exactly. So you have to do your best in terms of lining them up. And then again, stitch a little bit, reverse on it to enforce it, and then you go forward and sort of move your two edges together as you. So now the two edges are symmetrical or the same now. Okay. So I'm over my round.
Let them talk, baby, yeah. They won't stop, baby, yeah. Watch them flop, baby, yeah. They ain't got nothing on you. Baby girl in effect.
Okay, so there she went around the curve, and
That's
then
right
she
there.
straightened it. So all you have to do really when you're going is just keep your seam allowance in mind when you're doing the curve. So now you're gonna turn your fabric back to the right side, and this is where you will do your running flat stitch.
So make sure that your seam is rolling to
One side.
one side.
So to execute this, you are going to want to start at the bottom of the chair and not at the top where the curve is.
Press it up, half foot down, I press. She back it up. She back it up. Yeah, come like ya.
And you want to be very careful when you do this because, you know, on this fabric anyway, it's usually hard to pick out or undo a
Velvet.
top stitching.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm just flipping it inside out to make it a little bit easier to deal with.
Don't fret, let me mess it up. You and me plus sex, baby, get it up. Baby, get it up. Don't bother with them, they have no life. Don't bother with them, they want your life. It's me and you, baby, it's me and you. You can lie to them, baby, I say the truth. My favorite you, you're my favorite you. You sweet girl from head to feet, girl.
So I'm not going to really show this on camera. We're going to show you guys it on the chair, but we're just going to go ahead and cut off any little
Excess seam.
excess threads and stuff.
Excellent.
It looks really, really nice.
Wow. Glad that you're in it to win it.
So this is the little running flat stitch she just did. It just gives a more professional finish on the chair rather than just plain and simple.
And it's reinforcement in terms of that it's not going to fall apart.
Exactly. If you don't want to do the running flat stitch, you can just do a double stitch on the inside right along where you were stitching before. And this is the base, so this is the part you sit on.
So let's do half an inch because of Velcro. Yeah, half an inch. I'm just pinning this on right now just to sort of give me an idea in terms of how much I'm going to put under and how much I need to wear the Velcro, because we're going to Velcro this part, and as well as the sides.
And this is why it's important to keep a consistent seam allowance, half an inch on every side, so that you don't have to be measuring every single side.
And this will also create the tautness. So when you do chairs, it has to be stiff, snug.
Yeah.
That's a good word.
So right now she's just going to iron this seam allowance down to flatten it before she attaches the Velcro. We're not going to really show you that. It's not really that important to see. just know that you should iron it just so that it's easier to work with on the sewing machine. So once again, this is the Velcro we removed from the original pieces.
Wind up on me now, take this seat, girl. You want me to, don't play the fool. Let them talk, baby, yeah. They won't stop, baby, yeah. Watch them flop, baby, yeah. They ain't got nothing on you.
I should charge you for using
Or you could just give me the machine back.
No, this was my Christmas present.
Charge, I don't celebrate Christmas. I don't know what you're talking about. Charge me for using what?
Don't get picked. Don't
Charge
get,
me for using
don't
what?
Get pigsty.
This is my electricity.
It's
I
my
bought the
machine. I don't care if you. I don't care.
Probably purchased all the thread in that thing. If not.
Probably is operative word.
Anytime you've gone to Fabricland, I've reimbursed you. So don't start with
hell
me.
no. Sometimes you don't know that I've gone to Fabricland.
Well, that is between
because
you and
you've
yourself.
got me. Okay.
That's between
Okay.
you and
It is.
yourself.
Okay. Fine. You see what I have to deal with?
I let you do your cushions on business time. You don't have the nerve. You have some nerve. Actually. Tell me
Which
you should be
employer
charging me
give
to
you
do
perks
what?
and then tell you so then give you perks? Huh?
What perks? There's no perks here.
You're making me make mistake. Get out. Stop
You
talking.
see? Don't face yourself telling me you should charge me for anything. I don't even know what you were gonna say, and I don't care. Don't business.
God. I'm so proud to have a daughter like you.
What does that mean?
That I am proud to have a daughter like you.
The
Who can face it?
businesswoman?
Who can? That's a businesswoman and who can face it themselves with me and get away with it.
So that you're proud. You're proud. You should be.
You know what? You know what I think?
What?
And how can you fight with an extension of yourself? I mean, people do it all the time, right?
Yeah, it's called schizophrenia.
Well, you know, maybe that's not such a bad thing.
Okay, so I didn't want to just have any ordinary legs on the chair, so I decided that I wanted to make them glittery. What I'm going to do is take some Mod Podge, which is like a crafting glue. I got it at Michael's. And I'm also going to take this glitter, and this is by Recollection. It's chunky glitter in the shade Champagne and Silver. And I bought 2 of these. You're going to need something to sand the legs down with, just a little bit, just to make it adhere better. You're also going to want to work with sponge sticks, I guess. Or what are these called? Foam paint brushes. You're going to want to use these to apply the glitter. And you're probably going to want to wear gloves as well. I bought a pair of gloves from the dollar store. Because I'm working inside my house, I covered the floor in a plastic sheet just because it is glue and glitter and messy. So it probably won't be too messy because I am mixing the glitter in with the glue. And of course, this is a finishing spray. This one is actually, it's clear and it's matte and is safe for indoor usage.
Let them talk, baby, yeah. They won't stop, baby, yeah. Watch them flop, baby, yeah. They ain't got nothing on you.
I had planned to pour the glitter directly into the Mod Podge.
Baby, yeah. They won't stop, baby, yeah. Watch them flop, baby, yeah. They ain't got nothing on you.
So we're doing half and half basically. So half of the, not half of the bottle, but like we've put glitter in here and we've used that as a base so that when the Mod Podge dries, it's clear and the glue is full of glitter. But then you're also gonna sprinkle your glitter on top of what you've placed down so that the legs are completely covered. And of course you can just do layers and layers because if it's not enough, it'll cover more spaces.
Experiment with it as you go along in terms of
Exactly.
how you cover it.
Especially if you've never worked with Mod Podge before. I've never used it on a project like this. I've only ever used it on paper and like Christmas stuff. So I wasn't really sure, but I'm really loving this. It looks good. We decided to flip it over to work on the legs. It's just easier.
Let them talk, baby, yeah. They won't stop, baby, yeah. talk reckless, yeah, yeah. Baby, them know you're precious, boy. They can't handle seeing you shine. Come give me the wickedest wine. They want staring, baby, that's fine. You give me the wicked.
Me no want feel.
Mom, it's the same damn
No,
glitter.
because you didn't unwrap yours properly.
Mom, what difference does that make? It's not.
It does, because it's sticking
It's
all
not
over.
affecting it.
Not affecting it, it affecting me. I'm
And yours, I don't want yours either. Give me mine back.
too bad for you.
Give me mine back.
Too bad for you. Let me see how which
You're
one
never,
is
ever,
this.
ever working on a project with me again. You're too crazy.
Look what you made me do. See, your sides are, this is my side. Your sides are like begging for attention. If your husband come home and gluing her underpants tonight.
Glitter balls.
Oh my gosh. Please don't tell him to call my house.
That's how the legs look with one coat. I know the lighting's not the greatest. I'll try to make it better for you. It looks gradient, but it's actually not. I think it's just a matter of what is drying quicker. It's pretty opaque, but we're definitely gonna need a couple more coats. 1 or 2 more coats should do the trick. So we actually did end up removing the flap that we originally had placed on this way. We realized that we don't have a choice but to remove it. It needs to be wrong side to wrong side. So this side to the inside of the seat. This is the entire chair cover at this point. Mm-hmm. So she's going to stitch through all 3 layers, and after that she should be done.
Yeah, it is done after that. To really make this simpler, when you hold it up like this, what you're looking at, this flap here, and this is the actual seat cover. So it's stitched to the back rest, seat cover, and then this flap. Okay, so then the flap becomes the security for both the back and the
Exactly. It just allows it to be tighter.
yeah.
This vibe just wind your bumper, show your mind. Them get vexed when you smile. Pretty girl, you a diamond, I cannot lie.
So right now the chair is bare, and we are getting ready to dress the chair, put the pink on it. Super excited to see the finished product. Honestly, the camera is not doing the chair justice, but we'll see what happens. So we blow dried it to the best of our ability, and we got off most of the excess glitter off of the legs, but still, and we also sprayed it with acrylic spray. The only problem with the acrylic spray that I used is that mine is a matte finish because it was the acrylic spray that I had for my shoe DIYs. The glitter is drying a little bit more matte than I would like it to, but it's still really pretty. So this is the flap thing that we had an issue with. She's tucking it in behind.
Like we showed you before.
So that is the chair complete. Definitely a statement piece. Definitely something people would ask you about if they were to come over. I'm in my PJs right now, so I'm not going to sit on it. But I think we did pretty good. What do you think, Mom?
Is it pretty good?
Pretty good?
Excellent.
Yeah, we did the best. We did it the best. So let us know what you think of our pink chair, and let us know if you'll be trying it yourself. You see all that bling? We love you all, and we will definitely see you in the next one.